I never get picked to be on a jury. I've been called a lot of times, and sometimes I sit in the room and listen to the judge, and he'll ask me questions, and the lawyers will ask me questions, but I never get picked. And this has happened a lot. I've gone a lot of different times with a lot of different people over the years, and I never get picked. And eventually it dawned on me maybe why I don't get picked to serve on a jury, because I think the reason is the judge knows and the lawyers know that I know how to tell if somebody's guilty. Now, like I said, I've listened to the judge talk and the lawyers talk, and one of the first judges I ever listened to, he explained to me and everybody in the room what the job of a jury was and what our duties were. And he told everybody there, and I never forgot it. And sometimes now when I go to serve on a jury and I listen to the judge and the lawyers ask questions, and when they get to me, I answer them. And almost always the same question comes up. The judge will ask, or the lawyers will ask, do you think, Mr. Moffett, that you can be a good juror? Can you do a good job as a juror? Mr. Moffett, can you do that? And I look him right in the eye. I look at the defense attorney and the prosecuting attorney, and I say, yes, sir, I know I can. I'm absolutely sure of it. My confidence is a little bit startling to them. They're kind of not used to answers from the prospective jurors in that manner. And so they always, because they're good lawyers and judges, they proceed a little bit further and ask me why I think that I can be a good juror and I can do a good job. And I tell them, I said, well, sir, or ma'am, a long time ago, a judge told me what my job was as a juror, and I think I can do a good job because he told me my job was to listen and look to the evidence. And then he explained what evidence was. And when he was done, he reminded me that my job was to listen and look at the evidence and not, he said, and I'll never forget, not to listen to the judge or the defense attorney or the prosecuting attorney. So my job is to listen to the evidence, not to you or you or you. So I think that might be one reason why I don't get picked, is because that I've had my duty as a juror explained to me. Now, there might be other reasons too. For example, they'll usually ask people if they believe in the death penalty, and I tell them I do. And then they'll ask, well, do you believe in legalizing drugs? I say, yes, I do. This is not a usual combination. And if they ask me, I'll give my reasons, but usually after I explain to them about my job as a juror and how good a job I could do, that's about it for me. I don't get too many more questions. And I think they know that I can look at the evidence and tell who is guilty, but more importantly, I don't listen to them. But it's not as easy as all that. How to tell if somebody's guilty. Let me ask you a couple questions. You're out on a Sunday morning and you see a person at a bank. It's a man. He looks kind of like me. And he's standing behind a woman in line at the bank. There's just two people, a man and a woman. Young woman, pretty woman. An old, ugly guy like me standing behind a woman at the bank. 7:30 in the morning at the teller machine outside. ATM. They're withdrawing money. At least the woman is, because she's in front at the ATM and the man behind her looks like me. And the man has a knife in his hand, and he's holding that knife pointed toward the woman behind her at her back while she's taking money out. What would you think? What would you do? Is that man guilty of something? He sure as heck looks like it. You got to be stupid to not think so. There's a bank, two people, a man and a woman, an old guy and a young pretty woman. She's taking money out, and he's got a knife in his hand. What the hell do you think's going on? Well, let me tell you, that man was me. I had a good reason. I'll tell you in a minute. But who's guilty? Can you tell? You got to listen to the evidence. You got to look at the evidence. You can't just make up your mind. What about this man? What about this woman? This woman, she's at a bakery. She goes inside. She comes back out. She gets in her car. She pulls away. She's out driving. For an instant, she hears a noise in the back seat. She looks in the mirror. There's a man laying down in the back seat of her car. 11 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday afternoon. Well, it can't be afternoon, can it? If I just said morning, see, you got to pay attention. Well, what if there was a man? And what if that man looked like me? What if that man could have been me? Well, let me tell you this story. But before I do, let me tell you what happened at the bank. It was Sunday morning, and I'd been out all night, and I can't do that anymore. Like the kids say, I can't hang anymore. But this was a long time ago. It was in North Miami, on 125th Street, more or less, at the bank. They changed the name about 5 times now. It's about 2 blocks from the police department, North Miami. And I'm kind of tired and sleepy, and I've had a hard night. And I go to take my card out and put in the machine. And I got my card in my hand, and I point it toward the machine, and I just push it. And between the machine where it's into the bank building wall and the wall itself, there's a crack about 1/8 of an inch. About 3 inches below is the slot you put your card in. I put my card half asleep into the slot between the wall and the machine that's like 1/8 of an inch wide. And it went into all but like a 1/2 an inch. Now, this kind of surprised me. I go to get it out, and I just push it in farther. Now it's like 1/4 of an inch. Now like 1/8 of an inch. I can't get it out. I don't have any fingernails. I can't grab it. I'm pretty much awake now. I got my freaking card to the ATM machine in the wall of the bank. Now this woman is behind me from out of nowhere, and she wants to go and use the machine. And I'm trying to get the card out, and I'm being embarrassed, and I feel like a fool, like an idiot. So, excuse me, ma'am, I canceled the transaction, and I said, do go ahead. And she looks at me kind of funny, but she goes ahead and does her business. She's getting her money out. I said, what am I going to do? I can't leave the card there. I can't go home and get a pair of needle nose pliers. What am I going to do? I remembered I got a pocket knife. I always carry a pocket knife, or I used to anyway. And I pulled out. It's a pretty big pocket knife. I don't know if it's legal or not, but it's a pretty big knife. And I'm holding out. I said, I can use this knife to wiggle it in there and get it underneath a little tiny bit of card sticking out, and maybe, if I'm lucky, I get my card out. And now I'm thinking, I'm so glad I got my knife with me, and I'm standing there with the knife out behind this woman in the bank, 7:30 in the morning on a Sunday, and out of the corner of my left eye, I see a car go by, and it's a police car. And I look over there at the police car and look down at my hand. I've got a knife in it behind this woman at the bank, 7:30 in the morning, and I feel sweat come all over my body. And I just sort of drop my hand down to the side of my pants and fold my knife blade over, and then just put it in my pocket, and I keep sweating. And then the cop car keeps going, and I said, Jesus Christ. And the woman, she gets her money out, she turns around, looks at me, gives me a funny look, leaves. She gets in her car, and I take the knife out again, look around, see if there's a car, pop my card out, get my money out, and go home. Well, what would you have thought? You saw a man with a knife. Would he have been guilty of something? I think you would have thought. 99.99% he would have been guilty of something. But I wasn't guilty of nothing, except I was tired and sleepy and stupid. So, who's guilty? Who's innocent? What's going on? You got to look at the evidence. What about that man and that woman at the bakery? Let me tell you. Years ago, I worked at a company. Every Friday, had to show up 3:30 in the morning and start the laboratory procedures and make a product that was worth about $1 million. Couldn't make a mistake. It was kind of nerve-wracking. But in between, around close to lunchtime, there was like a 45-minute break in between the lab procedure. And if I wanted to, I could just go lay down, take a nap, because it's gonna be a long day. And some people said, "Hey, let's go out and get something." And they were going to a bakery because it was going to be Easter, and all the Cubans there at work, they would buy cakes for Easter. And so I'll go with you. And I get in the car, and I'm tired and sleepy, so I lay down in the back. I'm not really sleeping, but I'm not fully awake. And they go to the bakery. And it's kind of hot in the car now. I'd never been in this car before. It was just the people at work. I went with them. And I said, you know what? Maybe I'll go wait inside. There's air conditioning. And I get out, and there's like a line of people, and the baker's full of people. And it just was just annoying to stand in line and wait for a cake. So I said, let me go back out and lay down. And I go back outside, and I go to get in the back seat, and the freaking back door's locked. I didn't lock the door. I mean, what's going on? I mean, I know I didn't lock the door. Is it like maybe there's something new with the cars nowadays when as soon as you shut them, they lock on you? And I'm trying to pull on the door, and this woman comes up, and she gives me the craziest look. Like, what in the hell am I doing? And she looks angry and mad at the same time. And then she gets her key out of her pocket, and she opens the driver's door. I've never seen this woman before. She gets in the car, and then she pulls away, and my mouth open, like I'm going to catch flies or something. And as she pulls away, the car, let's say it's a red car, let's say it's a red Corolla, let's say it's a 2004. As she pulls away in her 2004 red Corolla, I can see the car behind her car is also a 2004 red Corolla, which is the one I came in to the bakery. And the back door was unlocked of that car because that was my car that I came in with my friends from work. So I was thinking about, what if I had gotten in the back seat? What if she left her door open and I'd lain down? And now she gets in and she's driving away, and I mumble something, and she sees there's a guy in the back of her back seat of her car. Like, is she going to shoot me in the head? Would she be, liable? Would that be the right thing to do? Like, why not? 99.99% of the time, somebody laying down in the back seat of your car. I don't know. So who's guilty? Who's innocent? It's hard to tell sometimes. Coincidences. It's a funny thing, ain't they? Well, just like something to think about. Things aren't always what they seem. When you go to think what the conclusion is about something, sometimes people get a lot of exercise jumping to conclusions, and there's more jumping to be done. You don't always want to make up your mind until you know all the facts. You don't want to be unsafe. If you see something, sometimes better be safe than sorry. So if you got to do something to protect yourself, you want to protect yourself. But you don't always know what's going on nowadays. So who's guilty? Who's innocent? So that's one reason, among others, I never get picked to sit on a jury, is because the prosecuting attorney and defense attorney, they kind of know that I know who's guilty beyond a shadow of a doubt and who isn't. And it's not always who you think. It's not always what you think. So I know sometimes I think I'd be a good lawyer. Like, Your Honor, if it please the court, I may just be a simple country boy, but cornbread don't go sideways in the summertime. Thank you, Mr. Charlton. Well, you know what? I don't know if I'd be a good lawyer or not, but I think I would be a good juror because, unlike a lot of people, I know how to tell if somebody's guilty. I know what to do if I get my card stuck in the ATM machine. And I know when not to go to the Cuban bakery. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Yes, it is. Very magnanimous of him. Because after all, if he was in the same spot, he knows how to put him down. He ignorant. What?